everybody, what is going on? Happy Super Bowl Sunday. We are here, we are live, and we are ready to talk some NFL DFS, some Showdown DFS on Run Pure Sports. I'm Eric. I am joined. We got an all-star crew this morning. We got AP. We got DC. AP, what's up, man? How are you doing? I think you're muted, so make sure you hit that button, brother. And welcome to this beautiful Sunday morning. Yeah,
doing really well. Couldn't imagine waking up, feeling better than how I feel right now. We have the Super Bowl. We got the best team in the world with the best quarterback who's ever played the game coming in. And, it's just crazy, Crain. Like, it's absolutely crazy. All 2 weeks long. It's the same thing. The whole week against the Bengals, the same exact thing. Everyone chirping. Everyone saying, Mahomes can't do it, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's saying Philly's a better team. Oh, it's going to be incredible. I can't wait till the game starts. It's just, they're going to own them. We'll get into it, obviously, but I'm very, very excited for this game tonight. It's going to be a ton of fun. And in all seriousness, the showdown's going to be a ton of fun because there's just a lot of unpredictableness on both sides. Philly running back rotation, Chiefs, wide receiver carousel. So I think it's going to be a really fun showdown slate.
Yeah, you mentioned everybody's on the Eagles. Hi, I'm everybody, but I know I'm on the show with you two, so I'm not going to be. I am going to be by myself. I know I'm alone. I know I'm alone here.
You were on the Bengals too, Crain, weren't you?
No, I was absolutely not on the Bengals. I was on the Chiefs.
I got you.
Get out of here with that. I was on the Chiefs, buddy, but I got to jump ship at this point. I'm going with my birds. I'm going with Mr. Jalen Hurts. I'm also going to DC. How are you doing this Sunday?
I'm doing great. It's Coronation Sunday. It's great to wake up Super Bowl Sunday knowing how the game is going to end. And hopefully make some money, along the way. Crain, I think we got, 56 minutes here, AP, to convince Crain to get on the right side, our good friend, Eric Crain. We don't want him to lose money. There's so much money to be made today. For anyone not stupid enough to back the Eagles, come on. Really, Crain? The Eagles today?
So look, I want to say that my heart is with the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, big St. Louis Blues.
Don't give us that bull crap. No. There's none of this. My heart is with the Chiefs, but my betting, none of that. Come on, Crain.
You know what? I like the Eagles so much. I'm going to bet some Eagles -10. I'm going to bet some Eagles.
We're going to push it. We're going to push him further into a corner. That's what always happens to me.
Eagles 80-0, baby. Go Eagles.
I woke up 100% confident in the Chiefs, but as we were loading up the show, I loaded up Twitter as well, and I see that Jackson Mahomes is trending. Oh, now I'm getting a little concerned. I'm getting a little concerned about the Chiefs. If it's going to be a Jackson Mahomes day, that's the one thing that can derail this.
That's all they have. That's all they have anymore. It's all they don't even bring. That's bad mojo. Don't even bring that up, DC.
All the Eagles do is kick the shit out of everybody. That's all the Eagles do.
Everybody? Oh, okay. Well, let's bring it. Who's everyone? I don't have their box.
All they can do is beat the teams that are put in front of them. That's all they can do, and they just beat them all.
This schedule looks.
I've been on the Eagles all year long. I really have. You remember, Crain, we did a show, Championship Sunday, I think.
Yep.
I was on the Eagles big over the 49ers. And, people that have followed my DFS plays or whatever, I really have been very, very high on the Eagles all year long. And like you said, they've kind of crushed everybody. I think that's a detriment today, right? They're not going to crush the Chiefs. Okay. And Jalen Hurts hasn't had to do it, right? They've cakewalked through these two playoff games. Last game, I still think the Eagles was the right side, but we don't really know for sure, right? The 49ers didn't have a quarterback for the entire game. And I know the Eagles scored on that first drive. Hurts looked really, really bad in the next 3, 4, 5 drives. It looked for a time that they were going to choke away that game at home to, a Josh Johnson CMC quarterback, Brock Purdy with a literally torn elbow. If you look at the final score, if you just box score watch it, the Eagles obviously crushed them, but I thought Hurts looked pretty shaky in that game. I really did. So, and your baby's crying. Your take is. Your kid's crying, Crain. Your take is so bad.
Imagine backing the Eagles, knowing that Crain's kid over there is crying. Are you kidding me?
I'm going to tell you.
How many signs do you need, Crain? How many more signs do we need that you need to come over to the good side?
All morning playing on his iPad and playing Rocket League. I woke up this morning, I woke up at 8:30, and which I know is really early for DC. DC, I understand, but I woke up at 8:30 and he was out of bed. I have no idea how long he had been awake, but he comes in, he turns the PlayStation on by himself and plays some Rocket League. He's choosing this very moment to want to play with me, which is that's just how having kids works. As soon as you need to do something, they're like, no. It's like, I can't, man. I got to talk about the Eagles. I got to talk about my Birds. I got to talk about Jalen Hurts. And you did mention Jalen Hurts, how he did look bad. He did look bad 2 weeks ago. I am awfully glad he has had this 2 weeks to heal that shoulder up. I think that maybe more than any other player in this game, he needed that time. So I'm taking a leap of faith. I'm playing Hurts. Look, most of my lineups for DFS are going to be 5-1 Eagles stacks.
No,
I'm going all in, baby. I know DC's last.
Always next year, Crain.
You know what? There is always next year. At least I hope. I don't know. You guys might kick me off the show at that point. But, I like the idea of getting a little bit different that way because everybody's going to be going with those 3-3 builds, those 2-4 builds. I like the idea. If you guys like the Chiefs, I'm dead serious. Go all the way. And, before we get into kind of quarterbacks.
Well, you don't got to tell us to go all the way, Crain. We're going all the way on the Chiefs.
I mean, okay. Crain, I don't see it at all. Jalen Hurts, he hasn't looked good for a long time. His last 3 games. I was tweeting it out earlier. I mean, the guy's completed a total of averaging 15 completions per game?
He was going to
2
win the
touchdowns,
MVP before he hurt his shoulder.
1 interception. I mean, this guy hasn't completed a downfield throw since December. And I mean, even then it was a little suspect. So I don't think he's looked good. I mean, he better get it done with his legs. That's all he got.
I think all the Eagles are going to get it done with their legs. I like Miles Sanders a lot today too, and nobody's playing Miles Sanders. And I just think the Eagles just kind of pound. I think they do a lot on the ground. I still like Jay Brown. I still like Dallas Goddard. Let's kind of talk about the roster construction about today, though, because everybody talks about I like this player, I like that player, but I don't think enough is made about how we construct rosters. And DC, I saw you shaking your head, so I'm going to you first. So if you like the Chiefs here, are you looking at some 5-1 builds? Because I think 5-1 builds for the Chiefs might be the most contrarian way to go.
Yeah, the problem with the Chiefs it's the same problem that it's been all year long, is that their receivers. I mean, outside of Travis Kelce, right? It's really hard to know who to trust. I mean, I don't think any of those guys really had good seasons. We saw MVS come up big in the last game. We've seen, Tony is going to be, I think, the most popular Chiefs pass catcher outside of Travis Kelce. But that dude leaves 70% of the games injured. It's crazy how he's unable to stay on the field. So I'm not feeling great about that. And then even the running back situation for the Chiefs, I think, is a little bit up in the air, right? It looked like coming into the playoffs, McKinnon was going to kind of take the lead role. That's what I thought was going to happen. And it's been all Pacheco in these 2 games. And now even today, are they going to activate Clyde Edwards-Helaire? I don't think he'll be involved, but that's a little bit interesting too. So I think it'll be Pacheco, but I don't know. And I mean, Crain, you talked about Jalen Hurts getting healthy over these last 2 weeks. I thought he was going to be healthy coming, right? He what did he take? 2-3 weeks off to end the regular season as the Eagles kind of closed out the regular season. It seemed like he was going to be healthy, or I thought he was going to be healthy coming off of the bye, but hasn't looked good in either of these 2 weeks. Hasn't thrown down the field much, like AP mentioned. I don't know. I think there might be more to Hurts' injury than they're letting on to close the season. I wouldn't be surprised if after after today, in the next week, if something's revealed with Hurts where, he's got to have shoulder surgery, something like that. I actually think it's the other quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, who benefited more from these 2 weeks off than Jalen Hurts. And I feel like the Chiefs, it feels like they've been through the fire, right? They had Mahomes, the brutal ankle injury to open the playoffs. They had to gut that game out with the backup quarterback in there some of the time. And then last week, against the Bengals, rather, 2 weeks ago, they had to gut that game out, right? The Bengals, the Chiefs, I think, closed as favorites, but Mahomes clearly was not quite 100%. He still played a good game. I think he will be today. 2 more weeks off, and based on what he looked like 2 weeks ago, I think the ankle will be good. I think he'll have his mobility back. And Hurts, I don't know. At this point, like he seems even kind of hesitant to run, to take some hits to some degree. So I know that wasn't exactly your question, just ranting over here, but yeah, in terms of DFS builds for the Chiefs, I know this isn't a contrarian take, but I want as much Kelsey and Mahomes in the captain as I can get, because it's just hard for the Chiefs' other pass catchers to get there. Like even Kadarius Toney, he just gets no work down the field, right? It's all kind of manufactured touches. I think he's got to score for sure once, and I think maybe twice to get there in the captain spot today, just because I just don't think he's going to rack up the yardage. They don't use him at all like a traditional wide receiver. So I think it's going to be a lot of Mahomes, a lot of Kelsey. It'll be really interesting, I think, to see how the Eagles deploy their outside cornerbacks, who, are, I think, a big strength of their team, because they're not really needed on the outside against the Chiefs, right? Like MVS can be a threat, but like also can completely disappear. I'll be interested to see if they move one of those guys inside to try to take away Travis Kelce to some degree. But I think it's going to be a lot of Mahomes, a lot of Kelce. I think Pacheco and or McKinnon could have big games here. And I like the Chiefs defense too. I think Jalen Hurts, especially in the second half, if they're trailing this game, which I think they will be, he hasn't had to he hasn't been in this situation much. I think he's going to force some throws. I think he's going to take some sacks. And I think the Chiefs defense, we see it in the Super Bowl, right? These defenses do come up with big plays more often than not. So I think the Chiefs defense also can come up with some big plays here. So yeah, I'm obviously on the Chiefs, but it'll be interesting to see how it breaks down. Obviously, a lot of different ways the game could go.
So I know what you're saying as far as like the Chiefs TD goes. And like, if you think Jalen Hurts is still banged up to the point where you very clearly do, I think the Chiefs D is a sharp play, because amongst the two defenses, the Eagles are going to be more popular. I don't think either of these defenses are going to be overly popular in DFS this week. But if you think Hurts is still banged up, and look, he did sail a few throws last week. So I like the Eagles defense, obviously. I think the Eagles defense is an absolute juggernaut. AP, if you're playing what?
Sorry, that just got me.
Yeah, am I working at home daycare? No, but having a 4-year-old does seem like you're having a day.
Oh,
that's just how it sounds now. It is what it is, man. I was the only one left to watch the kid, and it's my day, so that's just how it is. But
you're almost as distracting as Holden. Usually when I'm going on a rant, actually talking about sports like we're supposed to do on the show, and Holden's just doing whatever on the side, and he starts laughing, and it throws me off. That's your kid today. He's playing the Holden role.
So, like, just to echo what DC was saying, I mean, it's just hilarious, and I'm still seeing it. I'm seeing it in the chat. I've seen it all week. I mean, my guy Bobby Boom in Discord. I mean, this dude will probably be back in Discord jail today. I know for a fact that's going to happen. I mean, all day just chirping the same BS garbage. I mean, one thing I keep hearing is like this KC's defense is suspect. Their secondary sucks. I'm driving like just a little bit ago. I'm driving to the gas station. I got to hydrate before I really hydrate during the game, and I turn on Sirius XM. Some dude from like Roto whatever is sitting there. I really like AJ Brown because the Chiefs ranked 24th in pass coverage during the regular season. Dude, this is not the regular season. This is postseason play. This is the Super Bowl. Throw all that stuff out. You got Trent McDuffie, who was hurt, half of the season. He's back, playing better than ever. The pass rush is playing better than ever. Look what they did 2 weeks ago to Joe Burrow. 5 sacks, 6 sacks. The secondary was lights out. The defense won them that game. I mean, the defense and then Mahomes on 1.5 legs won them that game. But their defense is playing good right now. They play good against the Jaguars. Like, it's just funny that people continue to disrespect this Chiefs defense. And DC, I'm with you, man. I think the KC defense is one of the best plays on the slate.
AP, you said 1.5 legs for Mahomes. 2.5.
2.5. My bad. 2.5.
Yeah.
1.5 would be a little rough. I don't think Patrick would be getting it done if that.
No, but honestly, when I had to turn the radio because I'm like, you're citing regular season stats? I mean, what are we doing here?
I just want to.
I mean, really?
Can you do that voice again, please?
we'll do it again another time.
That was just amazing, and I do some XM
It sounded a lot like
all right. So I do love the Sirius XM. I mean, I listen to NBA radio like all day, every day. So I'm not bashing them at all.
Hey,
for good fun.
Hey, it's like anywhere, man. There's some good ones out there, and there's some bad ones out there. And because I don't want to start a Twitter war, I ain't gonna name them. I'm not even gonna go there. DC,
I haven't been in a Twitter war in a while. Today seems like
we need more Twitter wars, guys. It's a good thing. It's a win-win for each side. Trust me.
What is it that Tony says? I don't want Peter on Twitter. I want DC. Oh, man.
He doesn't like when Peter goes on Twitter and starts giving the political takes. So I'll keep it to DC today. We'll rile.
It's Super Bowl Sunday, man. You got to keep it to DC.
See, look, you got to bring it back on the other side, chat. I embrace this. I love this. Yeah, I'm on my knees for KC. That's what I do.
You came to the wrong show.
It's funny. I know. I'm all alone here. That's okay. DC, we did a show about a month ago, and you're like, Crain, you always straddle the fence. I want to hear you give a take, so I'm giving the damn take. Yeah. I like the Eagles. Right now, I've got two lineups built. They're both Eagles 5-1 stacks. You know what? If I lose with that, I lose. That's fine. I promise you, I've lost more money than what I'm going to lose today. So. It ain't no thing. I
don't get it, man. I honestly, I know we're going to get to each position.
Kick the shit out of everybody.
I think Jalen Hurts is the worst play on the slate. He's going to be 85% owned. I think he's the worst play, like in million maker formats. If you add up the captain and flex positions, he's going to be 85% owned. Worse, a guy who can't throw a touchdown pass. So you're really relying on him running in for a touchdown and then getting 100 yards with his legs. I think he's the worst play on the slate.
I need 60 yards and a couple scores. That's all I need. And guess what? He just does that every freaking week. They get to the one. Guess who's getting the ball? Jalen Hurts is getting the ball. He's running it in. He's going to get, at least 45, 50 yards with his freaking eyes closed on the ground. He's going to throw for some yards. He's got a high floor. He's got a high ceiling. I have no problem with Jalen Hurts. By the way, in my 5-1 sacks, I'm fading.
So how did he was the highest owned in the 2-game slate? He was the highest owned quarterback on that slate by far.
Didn't get there.
Followed by Joe Burrow, who was optimal.
Was it Mahomes?
I'm waiting, Crain. Yeah, Mahomes. Patrick.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Mahomes.
Patrick Bleeping.
The NFL MVP, second-time MVP.
Look, he's the best quarterback in football. I'm not taking that away from you. I think the rest of the team stinks, though. The rest of that offense is just not. You get Kelsey, and they got a bunch of nobodies. Do you really think that Marquez Valdez-Scantling is going to get there again? I think MVS.
No, I don't like MVS.
I was going to say, I think he's one of the worst plays on the slate. Let's talk about these players. We're talking kind of some quarterbacks, and look, you guys don't tune into this show for us to say we think Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes is a great play. Yeah. No shit, we think the quarterback's on a slow down shade is a bad play. DC, I want to hear your take on what do you think about maybe fading one of these guys, because that is automatically going to get you different. Both these guys are going to be over 80% owned. I'm fading Mahomes in my 5-1 Eagles builds. Nobody's doing that, and I'm okay with that. What do you think about potentially fading one of these guys?
You're fading Mahomes?
Yep. I'm really torching it today, baby. Right? Torching it, baby. Bye-bye, money. See you later.
You asked me a
question. That is a good way to say goodbye to money right there.
Yeah.
That's all right. Hey, that's all right.
Yeah, obviously not fading Mahomes. That would be a dumb thing to do. But yeah, I'm with AP, obviously. I think you can fade Jalen Hurts here. I think the Eagles running back situation, I think, is interesting. Miles Sanders was getting spelled early and often. And I know he had the 2 touchdowns against San Francisco, but what do you have? How many total 11 carries in that game?
It wasn't many, but they didn't need him. They were protected.
Yeah, but they were working in Gainwell and Boston Scott when the game was close in the first half. So I'm curious what the Eagles are going to do there with their running backs. I think I'm on probably similar builds to you, AP, where a lot of Chiefs, right? And then I think the 3 big Eagles pass catchers, right? I mean, it's really just the 3 guys. That's one reason why I was so heavy on Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense so much of the year, is because you knew if they had a big day, you could be pretty sure where it was going to go. If Hurts had a big day, he's taking, either or 2 of A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goddard with him. So I think the best builds are those guys mixing in one or two of those guys with Chiefs. You can even play Chiefs defense, I think, with those teams. And I don't think you need Jalen Hurts, especially with AJ Brown, right? We've seen so many times this year the huge touchdowns, right? That AJ Brown can break at any time. The long passes, obviously, a physical specimen that can break it off over the middle. So I think if you're going heavy Chiefs like I am, I do think AJ Brown is the best way to do it, because Goddard and Devonta Smith, they do it more through volume, right? Their big games come on multiple catches. I think Jalen Hurts is more likely, to be on the winner with one of those guys or two of those guys. I think AJ Brown is the one that can break it open for the Eagles. As if you're going 5-1 Eagle or 5-1 Chiefs builds, I think AJ Brown is the best bring back. Clearly Miles Sanders, right? If you're going heavy Chiefs, I think he is a relatively easy fade. And I do think if the Eagles are trailing this game, I do think it'll be Kenneth Gainwell in there in the fourth quarter, right? If the Eagles are down 10, 14 points, if they're chasing this one, I do think it'll be Gainwell over Miles Sanders. And we just haven't seen it very often for the Eagles. Like they've just crushed everybody. So we've seen so little of their 2-minute offense, of them chasing games, that I don't think people are quite aware of it, right? Like there are plenty of teams in the NFL who have kind of the clear first, second down, salting the game away type backs, and then the clear third down, 2-minute type back. It's not as clear for the Eagles, but I do think it'll be Gainwell out there. And I think people are going to overplay Miles Sanders with Chiefs stats is one thing.
Okay, so I guess I see what you're saying, because you're saying if
hold on, guys. All right. Hold on one second. Michael Niederhauser, this is a free show, buddy. Go turn on ESPN if you want to watch something else. You don't have to watch this show. All right.
We going. Appreciate all the viewers. I just want to point that out. Thank you for watching.
It's a free show, though. And we're going to get into it. Like, we're going to just chill out, guys. I mean, we're all about making money here. I know I'm a Chiefs homer, but I put making money over all of that. So chill the fuck out, sit back, and listen.
And enjoy the show. We're having a good time over here on Run Pure Sports, which, by the way, if you are enjoying the show, Michael, I understand if you're not, click the like button, click that subscribe button over here at Run Pure Sports.
Or hit the dislike button.
Yeah, hey, fuck it. If you want to hit the dislike button, sorry, I just did that in front of my kid. If you want to hit bleep it, if you want to hit the dislike button, that's fine too. We appreciate the the talking back and forth. All right, let's talk about some running backs, because I think DC brings up a good point, because if you're playing that Chiefs stack, you don't want to be playing Miles Sanders. Just like if you're playing the Philly stack like I am, you do want to be playing some Miles Sanders. Now, on the other side, I think if you're playing the Chiefs stack, that might be where you want to play a little bit more Pacheco. If you're playing an Eagles stack, maybe a little bit more McKinnon. AP, what are you doing with this running back situation? Because it's pretty rare that we get a showdown slate where we have maybe if you want to throw Boston Scott in there, maybe 5 viable running backs. But I like what DC said, because if you want to have a certain script, I think that's how you choose what running back you're going with. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, running back's really tough. We did the Sabre Showdown show earlier this week on Thursday, and, we go through all the different types of builds, our cash builds, our tournament builds, and we just see what the optimizer is spitting out. And looking at, given the prices of the running backs, they don't really hit a lot of builds. When you look at your cash optimal builds, you're not getting any running backs in there. You're getting 2 quarterbacks. You're getting then tight ends in there. That's what makes up a lot of those cash builds. And when you look at these two teams, mainly the Eagles, very, very difficult to run on them. And so when you're just talking yards on the ground, it's going to be very difficult for the Kansas City running backs. On the flip side, do I think, obviously, the Eagles, what do they like to do? They like to run the ball. Do I think Kansas City will be able to completely shut down the running attack? No, I don't, because that's what they're good at. However, I do think both teams are going to bring pressure. That's what Spagnuolo is constantly bringing pressure. I think with Hurts, being his first Super Bowl, I think Spagnuolo is going to just absolutely bring the heat as often as he can. I think it's going to set up a lot of screens. I think we're going to see a lot of screens on the Kansas City side and on the Eagles side, which brings Gainwell into play. And then I think Jarrett McKinnon. Obviously, Pacheco's been the guy, and I think he still is. McKinnon's going to have a game here soon, and I love the idea of going to him with everyone going over to Pacheco. The other thing, too, in why, like in Millie Maker formats, these running backs are unpredictable. We saw Miles Sanders, 2-touchdown game. The game before that, it was the Gainwell game. And so it is really interesting. What I've been doing is toying around with some rules like Pacheco or McKinnon. Like, have we ever seen both guys go off? Could it happen? Sure. In this matchup, I think it's very unlikely for that to happen, though. So that's a rule I'm looking at setting up. And then on the other side, too, for those guys to be optimal at that position, you're going to need a big score. And I only see one of them, not both, being able to do that in this matchup. So what I'm doing with the running back situation is I'm setting up some rules. I want Sanders or Gainwell, and I want Pacheco or McKinnon. That's kind of like a baseline rule that I'm setting up at the running back position. But I love Gainwell. Obviously, I'm playing a Kansas City script. I think they're the better team. I think they're going to win. Am I a homer? Yes. But I also think this is a much better matchup for Kansas City. I said it last week. I didn't like I've never liked the matchup against the Bengals. All right. So Kansas City, very, very good in third and long. There's all these stats. There's a lot of good articles. You can go look them up and read them. But very, very good in third and long. The problem against a team like the Bengals, you can't sit back in a zone. You got Joe Burrow that's going to pick you apart. They're going to be able to, if you get the Philly into third and long, that's going to be really, really tough for Jalen Hurts. I'm not afraid of Jalen Hurts picking me apart. I think there's going to be a few third and longs that he picks up with his legs. I definitely think that. But if I'm Kansas City, stuff the box early, make Hurts beat you with his arm, get him into uncomfortable situations like third and long, that's going to be the recipe for Kansas City to win. And that's kind of what I'm playing on there. But running backs is very kind of an unpredictable situation, which is what we want in Millie Maker formats.
What do you think
go ahead.
The lack of McKinnon production over these last two games? I don't know if you were with me, AP, on thinking he would be the guy in the playoffs. I mean, it's like
that's what I thought. I thought he would be the guy in the playoffs.
So Pacheco's been very explosive. What did he catch? 5 balls out of the backfield last week. McKinnon, the better pass blocker. I
mean, that's what we thought. It was just, like last week. It was just mostly. I'm a little worried that McKinnon's out of juice at this point.
It's a fair take.
I don't know. I just think with the time off, like I don't think anybody's at it. Like I'm not taking that into account at all. Like I just assume everybody's at full juice because I wouldn't know how to quantify. Well, this guy might be tired. I wouldn't know how to do that. So
I only think that because of the Chiefs' usage of him, right?
That's why I go back to that rule, though. I do think that's an important rule. So one mistake I made was playing both of them in my lineups, both Pacheco and McKinnon, and that clearly has never worked. It's been one or the other. So that's the way I'm going today in showdown formats.
It seems like an obvious rule, but a lot of people plenty of people will play both, right? Like I think it's easy to overthink showdowns and like, oh, everybody's going to realize not to play them together. So maybe you could take it the other way, right? I'll play them together because nobody else will. I think the proper approach, though, is to try to think about the game as logically as you can. And I'm with you, AP. I think separating both the Chiefs running backs and the Eagles running backs makes a lot of sense today.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think, if you're doing what I'm doing and you're playing the 5-1 or even the 4-2 Eagles build, I like the idea of playing McKinnon. Then you play that pass catching back. And look, Isaiah Pacheco has absolutely looked better the last few weeks. He has absolutely looked better. He's looked explosive. He's just running over dudes. I think Isaiah Pacheco has looked great. If I'm playing season long next year, I want some Isaiah Pacheco. In this game, with these ownership numbers, because you have to think with how good Pacheco's looked, AP, that Pacheco's going to be significantly higher owned, isn't he?
Yeah, you would think so. Hey, extra sauce. I did not know that the Eagles O-line. I mean, all right, I give the Eagles O-line this. They're very good. Yeah. But I also think Kansas City's D-line and defense in general, just been disrespected. They've been really good. Just think about it. So, like Mahomes, when these guys cite these stats, like the Chiefs have given up X amount of yards, X amount of touchdowns. Well, think about it. The other offense, whoever they're playing, they're going to have the ball. When you're facing Mahomes, who's super efficient, scores a ton of points, that just creates more opportunities for the teams that they're playing. So no shit that they're going to have, so no shit that their numbers aren't going to look as good. It's just how it is. But their defense has been disrespected. I think they're playing incredible, and it's going to be a battle. Like, do I think that Kansas City defensive line is going to own the Philly offensive line like they did the Bengals 2 weeks ago? No, I don't think that. I think that would be an idiotic take. But Chris Jones has been a beast. I think Frank Clark is really coming into his own too. I mean, he needs 3 sacks to like be the all-time sacks leader in postseason play. I thought I read that somewhere, but the guy's playing out of his mind. So
I think one thing that's going a little bit overlooked or underrated in this game, whatever you want to say, the Chiefs, like just watching them over the years, some of their worst games are when the other team has a bad rush defense and the Chiefs get convinced that they can run the ball, right? Like if you're watching the Chiefs, the most frustrating thing in the world is when they start running the ball too often. And I almost think the Eagles' strong rush defense benefits the Chiefs here, right? Because I don't think the Chiefs are really even going to try to run the ball all that much. They're going to be able to put it in Mahomes' hands. And that's when they really thrive, when it's all Patrick Mahomes. When, he's the best player in the league. I don't think that's a hot take whatsoever.
I think he's going to pick them apart, like absolutely over the middle. I think it's going to be, he's going to slice them and dice them. It's going to be incredible to watch. Fucking incredible to watch. I mean, it's going to be a master at work. He's just slicing and dicing, and Philly fans are just going to be, in absolute tears. So, anyways,
I very clearly think
back to the real takes.
Better than you guys do. I don't think I just think the Eagles' defense is better than you guys do. Like I think that's what a lot of this comes down to.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's an offensive.
You might be right. You might be absolutely right. It might not matter.
And the games that Mahomes has struggled, right? It's been he played through that knee injury, right, in the Bucs Super Bowl when they couldn't protect him whatsoever. Remember the offensive line they were missing like their entire offensive line in that game. I think the way to beat Mahomes is to get too much pressure on him, right? Pressure up the middle. And I know the Eagles obviously have a great pass rush, but this offensive line is healthy and playing really well right now. They'll do enough, I think, to protect him to be able to get the job done. Yeah, I just if the Chiefs' offensive line was banged up, I would be more with you, Crain, on the Eagles' defense mattering. But I think they'll have enough protection here for him to get the job done.
Let's talk some wide receivers.
So one thing I will say, like shut
up, Crain.
I forget who said it, but the one take that is overstated is like Philly not playing anyone. I mean, I will say that it's kind of like what these people are saying, how they compare this game to when Kansas City played the Bucs in the Super Bowl. I think that's absolute donkey comparison too. So we'll put those two in the same bucket, and I'll move off of that one.
All right, yeah, because that's all Philly has done is just kick the shit out of that. Philly can only beat whoever they play. And that's what
I mean, they did lose to what? The Washington Commanders? They almost lost to the Texans, right?
They did have one bad loss. You're right. I forgot about that. All right, let's talk some wide receivers because for the Eagles, we know who it's going to be. It's Devonta Smith. It's A.J. Brown. It's Dallas Goddard. I have no problem if you want to fade the rest of everybody. Quez Watkins is going to get some ownership. I don't care. I'm perfectly fine if you want to fade Quez Watkins. Zach Pascal, okay. Greg Ward, whatever. You want to play Jack Stoll. I remember a show like 3 months ago. You and I had a conversation, AP, about Jack Stoll.
That's my problem. I mean, Philly. All right, so like I don't want to like stroke Philly at all, but they got two of my guys, Jack Stoll and Ndamukong Suh. So you hate to see it.
Nebraska great and Ndamukong Suh. So we know who it's going to be for the Eagles. You can play 1, 2, 3 of these guys. I think it's fine. For the Chiefs, I mean, pull out your magic 8 ball. We don't know where the hell the ball is going. Juju, MVS, Tony, your boy Sky Moore, Justin Watson, Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Joey Fortson. I mean, AP, what the are we doing with these Chiefs receivers? Because it's a mess, man. It's just a total mess. Like I'm fine if you only want to play outside of Kelce, if you want to fade this whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think obviously Kelce Mahomes, I'm going to be very, 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 very overweight on, and anyone out there could say, well, everyone's going to be overweight on them. That's not true. Hurts is going to be the highest owned guy, and they're going to be pairing him with Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown. out of those two, just going to the Philly side, I do like Devonta Smith. Just got to love his speed. And if Hurts were to connect downfield, I think it's going to be Smith. But over to the KC side, again, that's where it becomes far more unpredictable. I think this matchup is brutal for MVS. Kansas City does, what's a route where Kansas City loses? Well, if all their receivers go down like they did 2 weeks ago, it's going to be very, very difficult. I'll admit it. I will be in shambles. I will be apologizing. Probably not apologizing, but I'll be owning and saying
I want an apology.
But
I want a written and videotaped apology.
Hey, I have no problem. I'm going to say what my take is. And but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I have no problem admitting that. So MVS, I do think it's a tough matchup. I think the key, Juju, they got it, pepper him with targets across the middle. He needs to create some separation. Going to be tough. He hasn't been good at that all year, but we've seen Juju have some big games. I love this matchup for him. I obviously love the matchup for Travis Kelce. Kelsey's going to be the guy I lean on. And then Kadarius Toney needs to stay healthy. They need him here. They just need to get him in space and let him do his thing. I'm going to go right back to him. But again, it's not like I'm locking in a guy like Kadarius Toney with the injury risk and everything. So that's why it's showdown. I'm running 150 lineups. And, I'm going to set some rules around him and around these receivers. So I feel most confident with the tight ends, mainly Kelce. I think Noah Gray is a little interesting, too, as just like a punt option. And then Juju Smith, I'm going to be under on MVS. And then I like Toney. And then on the other side, I do like Goddard. Very, very good tight end. And I do like Devonta Smith there. So that's kind of where I'm at as far as my receivers. And I am leaning 4-2 Kansas City, and these 5-1s are really interesting. Both sides too. If we're just talking Millie Maker formats, one thing that we did on the show is we looked at all the different builds. The most popular by far were 3-3s, especially with people predicting this to be a shootout, like a 33-31 guy. I've seen a lot of overs or whatever. When you run the simulations in the optimizer, you're getting a ton of 3-3 builds. You're getting barely any 5-1s. So no matter if you're on the Philly side or Kansas City side, I don't care. You get some nice leverage with those 5-1 builds. And both teams are pretty unpredictable. So I could see a 5-1 or 4-2 definitely panning out here. Kansas City side or Philly side. So that's kind of where I'm at roster construction wise.
I like the idea of going 5-1 either way. You guys are going to go 5-1 Chiefs. I get it. If I wasn't going 5-1 Eagles, I would be going 5-1 Chiefs because I think that just provides the most leverage. DC, with these receivers, obviously with Kansas City side, you're just playing roulette if you're not playing Kelce. Do you have a preference here? Because I like the idea of fading MVS. If he's going to be popular after that game last week, and if he doesn't get you that one play, he's not going to be on the winner. So I like the idea of fading that. These other guys, I don't want to play any of these guys, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I haven't played many of these Chiefs wide receivers all year. Obviously, that's not an option really today, right? I mean, you can't obviously fade everybody. There's a bunch of question marks in this game. And if you're going Patrick Mahomes heavy scripts like I am, you're going to have to obviously pair him up with a couple wide receiver or a couple pass catchers at least. So Travis Kelce is, my favorite play. Like you said, AP, yeah, it's not some hot take, but he won't be 100% owned, right? He'll be 60, 65%. There's still room there to get over the field on a guy like Travis Kelce. I think you can put him in the captain spot. Absolutely. I think that's a good move with Mahomes. It's just hard for the Chiefs wide receivers to get there. The volume isn't there, right? They just very rarely have high target games. And so I think I'll probably be higher on MVS than you guys. I know the matchup on paper looks bad, right, against the boundary cornerbacks for the Eagles. But in the Super Bowl, are the Eagles really going to, kind of waste their good players on MVS? If I'm the Eagles here, I'm leaving MVS in single coverage and saying, if he beats me, he beats me. Yeah. And he can win on those types of plays, right? If you get him up single coverage, the play breaks down, Patrick Mahomes scrambles outside of the pocket, and all of a sudden you've got MVS streaking down for the long touchdown, which might be all it takes. Whereas Juju is just, man, I think Juju is really, really dusty at this point. He can't separate at all. Even the big games that he had were like, I don't know. I can remember like a couple broken tackles, kind of fluke plays that he scored. Like he's never, ever getting behind the defense on a long target. It just literally never happens for Juju. So I like actually MVS over Juju myself. Kelsey's one for me. Like I'm not playing. I know I played Sky Moore the 1 week. JT Hayes owned me once again. I can't go back to Sky Moore. He just seems like he just doesn't quite have it. And then Tony, I think, is the interesting play. I do think, on a cash game roster, Tony would be on my team. In a tournament, I just think everybody's going to Kadarius Toney. Any podcast, any breakdown of this game that you listen to all week, everybody loved Kadarius Toney. There was some news that came out of Chiefs camp about his growing rapport with Patrick Mahomes, which, frankly, I don't really buy into that, right? I don't think the Chiefs are going to reveal their game plan prior to the biggest game of the year. Oh yeah, we're going to use Kadarius. Like they're not just going to come out and say that if Kadarius Toney is suddenly going to pop off. And like I said, they don't use him like a traditional wide receiver whatsoever. Now he could score around the goal line. They do like the trick plays for him, which you can be pretty damn sure that the Chiefs are going to, bust out some crazy plays in this game. I think that's a near certainty. And Kadarius Toney does seem to be the guy that they use on most of those types of plays. So yeah, I do get the Kadarius Toney love, but I think he's going to come in, 4,400 with all the question marks around the Chiefs wide receivers. I think you'll see Kadarius Toney eclipse 45% ownership, maybe.
It'll be really high.
Which that's too high for me. For a guy who's playing 15% of snaps, who could easily,
But all right, so DC, but if you're running 150, you're not full fading him though,
no,
right? You just leave it a little under the field.
I will have.
I think
I'm fine with
that. It's okay. It's okay to match the field, right? On a play if you're playing a lot of lineups, and that could be kind of what I do with the Kadarius Toney. But like I said, what I want to do, I want to take up most of my salary with what I think are by far the two best plays on this slate, and that's Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. Get one of those two guys in the captain, pair them with the other outside of the captain, and then figure out the rest, right? Because I think that pairing is by far the most likely pairing to end up on the winner.
One other thing is, think about the Bengals game. Some of those throws Mahomes made was insane. The one to MVS for a touchdown. If that was placed anywhere else. But what I'm saying is it comes down to not just the coverage, but Mahomes is going to be able to deliver the ball too. Unlike most quarterbacks are not able to, where a receiver needs to get that separation or have the speed to create it. So
I'm saying, okay, Josh Gillen's saying Toney at 17%. No chance he's going to be 17% owned. No chance.
Yeah, I'll take the over on that for sure.
Way over.
Sure. And I'm happy to fade Kadarius Toney. And we've already talked about these tight ends. Kelsey's a fine play. We haven't really mentioned Dallas Goddard, and he's going to be popular. What do you guys think about Goddard in this matchup, DC?
I'm in. I'm going to mix and match those three big Eagles pass catchers. I don't see how you can't be in on these guys to some extent, right? They're the only three guys that get thrown the ball. I remember early in the season, I was playing some Quez Watkins in Showdown. But at that point, he was getting 80, 90% of the snaps. He was out there every play along with A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goddard. It's no longer the case. Now he's splitting snaps essentially down the middle with what's his name? The other
Zach Pascal, Greg Ward.
Zach Pascal, yeah, those two guys are essentially playing 40% of snaps each. So that for Watkins or Pascal to get there, they have to catch a long touchdown, I think, to end up on the winner.
And that's in play, but if it beats me, it beats me. I can live with that. I'm just going to be playing those three Eagles studs and moving on. All right, we had some questions in the chat about kickers, defenses. Are they in play at all? And look, we talked about this kind of at the top of the show, but we're both going to be playing. I'm going to be playing a different defense than the two of them are. I'm going to be playing a lot of the Eagles defense. They're going to be playing a lot of the Chiefs defense. AP, talk to me about the Chiefs defense and why you're going to be playing them.
Yeah, I think no matter what side you're on, in this game. I think both defenses are very much in play. Look at what the Chiefs want to. Spagnuolo is aggressive. Look at last week. Look at the week before. They're going to bring the house, especially against a guy like Jalen Hurts. Even though, he could use his legs and get there and stuff, but they're going to pressure him. I know it. And then on the Philly side too. So this is a matchup on both sides where we could see sacks. We could see, you hit the quarterback right, creating a fumble. I mean, that's fully in play. Throwing these quarterbacks off, throwing interceptions. So, and I think one thing that we talked about too, just going back to that Sabre show, when you get a high total like this, or if you think it's going to be a shootout, or the game's going over, what does a defensive touchdown do? It helps the over. Anyone in the right mind is rooting for a defensive score if they're on the overs. And so one thing that I think it was sharp when we were just playing around with the settings in there is like when we turned it up, if Philly was favored, whatever, we saw that defense actually the score go up a little bit because there's more opportunity for a defensive touchdown. And that's where those points are generated. So I like defense. I'm not playing any double defense, but I'm definitely going to have exposure to these defenses. So there's even all right, in Millie Maker formats, let's just say you're on a 4-2 Chiefs, win script. I am going to have the Philly defense in my pool in that script right there. Because if Philly scores a touchdown, their defense, they're most likely optimal because they're going to get some sacks. And then it creates more opportunities for the Chiefs offense. So it's like a win-win situation in that scenario. So, and no one likes to do that. No, we talk about it a lot. No one likes to do that at all. So I'm definitely having exposure to both defenses, even though I'm heavy on the Chiefs. I'm going to have a higher percentage of the Chiefs defense, but I will have a little bit of Philly also. And then, kickers too. It's a Super Bowl. These teams, especially Philly, I think they're going to take points when they can get them, especially early when each team.
I have a different take than that.
Okay, well, no, but Crain, what I'm saying is I'm limiting it to one kicker per build and no kickers in the captain is my take.
I guess my take is that both these offenses like to gamble, and like when people are put in high pressure situations, they kind of overcompensate. It wouldn't surprise me if these coaches were even more gambling, especially Sirianni. Like I kind of at first thought that I liked the Eagles kicker, but now I'm kind of like, I'm kind of backtracking a little bit. Maybe I play a little bit of that. Because I just think that Sirianni in his first Super Bowl, and he loves to gamble anyways and go for it, at midfield. You need those long field goals for the kickers to get there, and I just don't see him taking a lot of those shots. DC, what do you think about the defenses and the kickers?
I like that take, Crain.
Yeah, I'm on the Chiefs defense here. I think if you look at defenses haven't done well against the Eagles for most of the year, but of course they haven't, right? The Eagles have won every game. They've pounded teams. They haven't had to take any risks in the second half. I think that's going to be a different story here. And I think Hurts is going to be in some situations that he's not used to. The Eagles have been front running all year. I do think that the Chiefs, especially late in the second half, if this game goes away, I think it will, where the Chiefs are ahead. I think the Chiefs can do some damage with the defense. And it only takes one play. I think there's a good chance, a defensive touchdown from either team, I think has a pretty damn good chance to be on the winner today, just because the Chiefs spread it around so much, right? And then the players that are going to produce in this game, I think, are all very expensive. There's not I don't really see any skill position players below 4K that I'm even remotely confident in. So when you don't have any cheap guys that can, of course, Justin Watson could catch a long touchdown, Quez Watkins could do it. But if those guys don't, which I think is by far the more likely scenario, then you're going to have some cheap plays get there in the end. But to me, it's the defenses over the kickers. I'm with you, Crain. Both these offenses like to go for it on fourth down, and it makes sense, right? I mean, you have Jalen Hurts, who's we've seen the Eagles, right, on 4th and 1. They're sneaking the ball every time, and
it works every time. Every time it works,
right? They put the guy behind Jalen Hurts and they push him over the pile, and it works every time. So you get 4th and 1, 4th and 2. You have weapons like Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. You're probably going for it, honestly, in most scenarios, especially in the Super Bowl. So I will have some exposure to the kickers. But yeah, I'm going to be lower than the field on both these guys. I think these teams will go for it for the most part. I think this game, I think that there will be points scored in this game. But like you said, AP, I think people, and I'll throw myself in this bucket, even just going back to regular season DFS, I think you can easily play opposing defenses versus your quarterback that you roster, right? Like the best thing for your quarterback – honestly, is to throw a pick six on the first play of the game. That's like the best thing that your quarterback can have.
Speeds up the game, speeds up the scoring.
That's what you want, right? And yeah, I mean, I've made scripts where no, like even our partner SaberSim, their default is don't allow opposing players versus the defense. I think that's wrong. There's almost no correlation between defensive scoring and quarterback. So even in this game, I think like if you're trying to think of ways to get way off the board, captain Jalen Hurts with the Chiefs defense, right? Most people won't really want to do that. Or captain Mahomes with the Eagles defense. Things like that, I think, are a little bit of a way you could get different in this game.
I think that is a totally reasonable way to go about it. And guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. We got to get off here. AP, last thoughts on the slate for you.
Yeah, I mean, my final thoughts are, okay, so Philly, yeah, you've dominated a lot of teams. You've actually, going back to the stats, I mean, everyone, I was making fun of regular season stats for different reasons, but I'm a stats guy too. Philly has only been trailing. I think if you look at like every single game, only 18% of the time. So they are always working from ahead. Kansas City, look at the Bengals game. They get off to hot starts, and then you get the Bengals who kind of, adapt to the game, and they come back. What happens when Kansas City lays it on them early here, and Philly is forced to come back from behind? You force Jalen Hurts out of his comfort zone to throw the ball downfield. Man, I think that would be a disaster situation scenario for Philly, and it would lead to just an absolute dominating win by Kansas City. That's what I see happening. I see it being like a 31-17 type game today. That's my final prediction.
And we did have a question in the chat, and I'm going to ask you the same thing, DC. AP, who's your favorite captain?
It's got to be Mahomes or Kelsey for me. And so, okay, I'm fading Jalen Hurts at captain. Am I fading Jalen Hurts entirely? Am I 150? No, that would be dumb. I am going to be underweight the field, though. I'm going to have him in the flex spot right around 30-ish%, 25-30%.
Yep. I think Jalen Hurts is a great flex play. He's not my captain either. DC, who's your captain? Final thoughts on the slate.
Yeah, most of my captain will be Mahomes and Kelsey, and then maybe a little bit of Chiefs D as well for the I think the Eagles could win a close game here. I think there's a chance that the Chiefs rout the Eagles as well. That's
Michael Niederhauser. No one said that the Philly D sucks, and I didn't say that. They're good. The Chiefs have faced good defenses all season long. He's an Eagles guy, and that's fine. We'll be friends tomorrow. We don't have to be friends today. We'll be friends tomorrow.
It's all right. Christmas is a long time away. You don't have to worry about your Christmas card list yet, so don't even worry about Mike.
No, I mean, I'm looking forward to the game. Obviously, we're on the Chiefs, me and AP. So most of my scripts are going to go that way. Kelsey, Mahomes, by far my two heaviest owned captains and heaviest owned players overall. I'll mix and match from there, and hopefully we get a Chiefs victory today.
Well, for me, my favorite, I like the Eagles. I like the Eagles to win by double digits, and I'm going to get really weird in the captain spot. Look, is Mahomes or Jalen Hurts the most likely captain to win? Yes. If you're playing an Eagles kind of crush stack, don't be afraid to play a little Miles Sanders in the captain, because he is supposed to be this terrible play. He's not going to get enough work, blah, blah, blah. He's probably not going to catch passes, yada, yada, yada. We've seen him have 3 touchdown upside, and nobody, and I mean nobody, is playing him in the captain spot. And when you've got a guy with that much upside, I don't think it's insane to play him in the captain spot if you think the Eagles win. I know AP disagrees. I know DC disagrees. That's okay. I'm just going to have to live with their disappointment and live with the money when he scores 3 times. But we got to get off here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you check us out over at runpuresports.com. Got all kinds of Super Bowl content coming up. And thanks for joining us. It's been a lot of fun this season. DC, it's been fun doing shows with you. AP, it's been fun doing shows with you. And appreciate you guys bringing me on. We will catch you all later. Peace.